The night Adrian Vale told the woman he loved to delete his number and never call again, he thought he was protecting his empire. He was wrong. 4 years later, standing in a Seattle park, watching two little boys who had his eyes, his jaw, his exact smile, Adrian realized what he'd really done. He'd erased himself from their lives before they even existed. Now Maya Brooks, the woman he destroyed, stood between him and the sons he never knew he had. And she had every reason to keep that door locked forever. Want to know if love can survive the unforgivable? Stay until the end, hit that like button, and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The rain came down hard the night Adrian Vale made the worst decision of his life. He sat in his penthouse office, 43 floors above the Seattle streets, staring at his phone. Maya's name glowed on the screen. Third call in an hour. He let it ring out, watched it go to voicemail, then blocked the number entirely. Done? Richard Carver stood by the window, Adrian's business partner and the closest thing he had to family. 15 years older, sharp as a knife, and completely ruthless when it came to protecting Vale Industries. Done. Adrian set the phone face down on his desk. Good. The Kellerman merger closes Monday. Can't have any distractions. Adrian nodded, but his throat felt tight. Distractions. That's what Richard called Maya. A distraction. A liability. A poor girl from the wrong side of town who worked double shifts at a diner and somehow made Adrian forget about quarterly reports and board meetings every time she smiled. You did the right thing, Richard said, pouring himself a scotch from Adrian's bar cart. In 5 years, you won't even remember her name. But Adrian already knew that was a lie. He met Maya Brooks 6 months earlier at a charity gala he didn't want to attend. She wasn't supposed to be there. She was filling in for a sick catering staff member, carrying champagne trays in a borrowed uniform that didn't quite fit. He noticed her because she was the only person in the room who looked as uncomfortable as he felt. You okay? He asked when she nearly dropped her tray, avoiding a drunk hedge fund manager. Fine. Great. Living the dream. She steadied the glasses, gave him a quick professional smile. Champagne. I hate champagne. Smart man. She glanced around, then lowered her voice. Between us? This batch tastes like expensive regret. He laughed. Actually laughed. Something he hadn't done in months. Adrian Vale. He extended his hand. She hesitated, then shook it. Her grip was firm, her palms slightly calloused. Working hands. Real hands. Maya Brooks. And I already know who you are. Your face is on the building across from the diner where I work. Sorry about that. Don't be. The resemblance is terrible. You look way more miserable in person. That was it. That moment. When Maya Brooks, who had every reason to be intimidated by him, decided to treat him like a regular human being instead of a billionaire. They talked for 20 minutes while she was supposed to be working. She told him about her photography hobby, how she wanted to open a gallery someday but couldn't afford the dream yet. He told her about hating the family business, about feeling trapped in a legacy he never chose. So quit, she said simply. Can't. Too many people depending on me. That's not the same as wanting to stay. He asked for her number. She gave it to him, even though she probably shouldn't have. Their first date was pizza in a place so small, Adrian had to duck through the doorway. She laughed at his terrible jokes. He listened to her talk about light and composition and the way shadows told stories. For 3 hours, he forgot about board meetings and hostile takeovers and the weight of being Adrian Vale. The second date was a walk through Pike Place Market, where nobody recognized him in jeans and a baseball cap. She bought flowers from a street vendor with the last cash in her pocket, then gave them to an elderly woman sitting alone on a bench. Why'd you do that? Adrian asked. She looked like she needed them more than I did. By the third date, Adrian was in trouble. The kind of trouble that made him think about impossible things, different lives, different choices. A world where he wasn't Adrian Vale, heir to a commercial real estate empire, and she wasn't Maya Brooks, living paycheck to paycheck in a studio apartment with 3 roommates. They had 4 months. 4 perfect, impossible months where Adrian pretended he could have both worlds. The company his grandfather built, and the woman who made him feel human. Maya never asked him for anything, never wanted access to his money or his connections. She just wanted him, the real him, the one who existed underneath the expensive suits and corporate armor. Then Richard found out. End it. Richard dropped a folder on Adrian's desk one Tuesday morning. Now. Excuse me? The girl, Maya Brooks, 26 years old, works at Rosie's Diner, shares a one-bedroom apartment with 3 other women, total debt of $42,000 in student loans for a photography degree she never finished. Richard tapped the folder. Our background check flagged her last week. Adrian's hands clenched. You investigated her? Of course I investigated her. You've been disappearing for hours, missing calls, showing up to meetings distracted. I needed to know why. Richard sat down, his expression serious. Adrian, I know you care about this girl, but you can't afford her. She doesn't want my money. Doesn't matter. You know what the Kellerman family will do if they think you're serious about her? They'll walk away from the merger. 3 years of negotiations, gone. And the board? Half of them already think you're too young for the CEO position. If you marry some working-class girl with debt, I never said anything about marriage. You didn't have to. I see how you look at her. Richard's voice softened slightly. I'm not saying she's a bad person. I'm saying the timing is impossible. You have responsibilities. The Kellerman merger will double our company's value. We'll control half the commercial real estate in 3 states. Your grandfather built this empire from nothing. Your father died protecting it. You can't throw that away for a relationship that probably won't last anyway. Get out. Adrian. I said get out. Richard left. But his words stayed. Adrian tried to ignore them. He really did. He showed up for his date with Maya that night, took her to a gallery opening she'd been excited about for weeks. She wore a dress she'd found at a thrift store and somehow made it look like it was designed for her. Every guy in the room noticed her. She only noticed the art. Look at the composition. She pulled him toward a black and white photograph of a city street. See how the photographer used the light? It's not just a picture, it's a feeling. Adrian looked at her instead of the photograph. Yeah, I see it. She caught him staring. What? Nothing. You're just really beautiful when you talk about things you love. She blushed. Actually blushed. Shut up. I'm serious. You're biased? Completely. He kissed her right there in the gallery, in front of everyone, and didn't care who saw. But later that night, lying in her tiny bedroom while she slept beside him, Adrian couldn't stop thinking about Richard's words. The Kellerman merger. The board. His responsibilities. His father's legacy. His father died when Adrian was 19, driving home from a business meeting at 2 in the morning because he never stopped working. Heart attack behind the wheel. The company almost collapsed before Adrian could finish college. He spent his entire 20s rebuilding what almost fell apart, proving he deserved the name on the building. Could he really risk all of that? For what? Love? The thought felt absurd and essential at the same time. Maya stirred beside him. You okay? Fine. Go back to sleep. You're thinking too loud. She propped herself up on one elbow, studied his face in the darkness. Talk to me. It's nothing, work stuff. Adrian. She touched his face. I know something's wrong. I've known for weeks. You keep disappearing into your head. He wanted to tell her everything, about Richard's ultimatum, about the merger, about the impossible choice he was facing, but the words wouldn't come. I'm fine, he lied. I promise. She didn't believe him. He could see it in her eyes. But she let it go, curled back against him, and eventually fell back asleep. Adrian didn't sleep at all. The next morning, Richard called an emergency board meeting. The Kellerman family had heard rumors about Adrian's relationship. They wanted reassurance that Adrian was focused on business, not personal entanglements. Translation: end it with Maya, or watch the merger die. You have 24 hours, Richard said after the meeting. Make a choice. Adrian spent those 24 hours in hell. He knew what the smart choice was, the responsible choice, the choice his father would have made. End things with Maya now, cleanly, before it got more complicated. She'd be hurt, but she'd recover. She was strong. She'd move on, find someone better, someone who could actually give her a real life. But every time he tried to convince himself, he remembered the way she laughed, the way she saw him as Adrian, not Adrian Vale, the way she made him feel like himself instead of a role he was playing. He called her that night, asked her to meet him at their spot, a bench overlooking Elliott Bay where they'd watched the sunset half a dozen times. She showed up with coffee and that smile that made his chest hurt. Hey, stranger, She handed him a cup. Black, no sugar, way too hot, just like you ordered. Oh no, you used my actual name. That's bad, right? Her smile faded. Adrian, what's going on? He couldn't look at her. We need to talk. Okay, talking. I'm here. She sat down on the bench, but he stayed standing. Distance. He needed distance, or he'd never get through this. This isn't working. Silence. Long enough that he had to look at her. Her face had gone very still. What isn't working? Us. This. It's too complicated. Complicated how? My work. My responsibilities. I don't have time for a relationship right now. You had time last week. You had time yesterday. Her voice stayed calm, but he could hear the hurt underneath. What changed? Nothing changed. I can't do this anymore. Can't or won't. Maya, no. Answer the question. She stood up now, facing him. Because 3 days ago you told me you were falling in love with me. So either you lied then or you're lying now. Which is it? His throat closed up completely. I'm sorry. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. She stared at him for a long moment. He watched her cycle through emotions, confusion, hurt, anger, and finally something worse. Understanding. Someone got to you, she said quietly. Your partner, Richard. He told you to end this, didn't he? Adrian said nothing. Oh my God, he did. She laughed, but it sounded broken. What did he say? That I'm not good enough? That I'm a distraction? A liability? Maya, was any of it real? Her voice cracked. The last 4 months. Did any of it actually matter to you? Of course it mattered. Then why are you doing this? Because I have to. The words came out harder than he meant them to. You don't understand the pressure I'm under, the responsibilities I have. I can't throw everything away for... He stopped, but it was too late. For what? Maya asked, her voice very quiet now. For me? Is that what you were going to say? I didn't mean... Yes, you did. She stepped back from him. You meant exactly that. I'm not worth it. Not worth the risk. Not worth fighting for. That's not true. Then prove it. Tell Richard no. Tell your board no. Choose me. Adrian wanted to. In that moment, he wanted nothing more than to say yes, to hell with the consequences. But he thought about his father, about the company, about the thousands of people who depended on Vail Industries for their jobs, their livelihoods, their futures. His silence was answer enough. Maya nodded slowly, like she'd expected this all along. Okay. Maya. No, it's fine. I get it. She dug her phone out of her pocket, pulled up his contact, and deleted it right in front of him. There, number erased, just like you wanted. That's not, don't call me, don't text me, don't show up at the diner. Her voice stayed steady, but tears were running down her face now. I mean it, Adrian. If this is really what you want, then commit to it. Erase me completely. Pretend the last 4 months never happened. Pretend I never existed. I can't do that. You just did. She turned and walked away. Adrian stood there watching her go, every instinct screaming at him to run after her, to apologize, to choose differently. But his feet stayed planted on the ground, and his mouth stayed shut, and he let the best thing in his life disappear into the Seattle rain. The Kellerman merger closed 6 days later. Vail Industries doubled in value. The board was thrilled. Richard was vindicated. Adrian was miserable. He tried to bury it in work. 80-hour weeks, back-to-back meetings, new acquisitions, new projects, new problems to solve. Anything to avoid thinking about Maya's face when he'd broken her heart. It worked for about 3 weeks. Then he drove past Rosie's diner at 2 in the morning and saw the lights still on. He told himself to keep driving. Instead, he parked. Maya was inside, cleaning tables. She looked exhausted, thinner than he remembered. She didn't see him watching through the window. He pulled out his phone, started to text her, deleted it, tried again, deleted it again. What could he possibly say? I made a mistake? Come back? I choose you after all? But nothing had changed. He still had the same responsibilities, the same pressure, the same impossible situation. Reaching out would only hurt her more. So he drove away and didn't look back. A month passed, then 2, then 3. The pain dulled into a constant ache Adrian learned to live with. He dated other women, appropriate women from appropriate families with appropriate backgrounds. None of them made him laugh. None of them challenged him. None of them were Maya. Richard noticed the change in him. "You look terrible." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You've lost weight. You're distracted in meetings. The board is starting to notice." "I said I'm fine." "This is about the girl, isn't it? Maya." Adrian didn't answer. Richard sighed. "Adrian, you did the right thing. You know you did. Sometimes the right choice still hurts." "Does it ever stop?" "Eventually." Richard poured them both a drink. "Give it time. You'll move on. She already has." Adrian's head snapped up. "What?" "I saw her last week. At that coffee shop on Pine Street. She was laughing with some guy. Looked happy." Richard studied Adrian's reaction. "That's good, right? Means she's okay." Adrian felt sick. "Yeah, good." But it wasn't good. Nothing about any of this was good. 4 months became 5. 5 became 6. Adrian threw himself deeper into work, expanded the company into 3 new markets, acquired 2 competitors, made another $100 million he didn't need and couldn't enjoy. The 1-year anniversary of their breakup came and went. Adrian spent it alone in his penthouse, drinking expensive scotch and looking at the city below. Somewhere down there, Maya was living her life. Maybe with that guy Richard had seen. Maybe happy. Maybe she'd forgotten all about Adrian Vale and the 4 months they'd spent together. He hoped so. He really did. But late at night, when he couldn't sleep, Adrian would pull up the photos he'd secretly kept on his phone. Maya laughing at Pike Place Market. Maya explaining composition at the gallery. Maya asleep in his bed, her hair spread across the pillow. He'd deleted her number like she asked, but he'd never been able to delete the pictures. 2 years passed, then 3, then 4. Adrian was 32 now, richer than ever, more successful than his father had ever been, completely alone. He told himself he was fine with it. This was the life he'd chosen. The company was thriving. His employees were happy. The Vale name meant something again, but sometimes, driving through the city late at night, Adrian would find himself on Maya's street. He never stopped, never got out of the car. He just drove past the old apartment building where she used to live, wondering if she was still there, wondering if she thought about him at all. She'd moved out 2 years ago. Adrian knew because he'd asked Richard to check, not stalking, just keeping tabs, making sure she was okay. She'd moved to a small house in a neighborhood Adrian never had reason to visit. Richard reported that she seemed fine, working, living, moving on. Good, Adrian told himself. That's good. But his chest still felt hollow every time he thought about her. Then, on a random Tuesday in October, Adrian's whole world cracked open. He'd had a brutal morning, 3 meetings, 2 conference calls, 1 screaming match with a contractor who'd missed a deadline. He needed air, space, something other than his office walls. He drove to a park he'd never visited before, someplace quiet, someplace where nobody would recognize him or want something from him. It was nearly empty. Just a few people walking dogs, a couple of joggers, some kids on the playground. Adrian sat on a bench and closed his eyes, trying to remember the last time he'd felt anything other than tired. That's when he heard it, a laugh, bright and familiar and impossible. His eyes snapped open. 30 feet away, pushing 2 little boys on the swings, was Maya Brooks. She looked different, hair shorter, a few lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before, but still beautiful, still her. Adrian's heart stopped. Then he saw the boys, 4 years old maybe, twins, dark hair, same build, same jawline, same exact face Adrian saw in the mirror every morning, the world tilted sideways. One of the boys jumped off the swing, ran to Maya, wrapped his arms around her legs. She scooped him up, kissed his forehead, said something that made him giggle. The other boy called out, "Mama, watch this!" and pumped his legs higher on the swing. Mama. Adrian couldn't breathe. He stood up without meaning to, took a step forward, stopped. Maya hadn't seen him yet. She was focused entirely on the boys, pushing the one on the swing, holding the other on her hip. She looked tired, happy, complete. like a family. Adrian's family. His sons. The realization hit him so hard he had to sit back down. 4 years ago, when he told Maya to erase his number and never call again, she'd been pregnant. With his children, his twins. And she'd never told him. Or had she tried? He remembered those calls the night he'd blocked her number. 3 calls. What if she'd been trying to tell him? What if he'd cut her off before she could say the words? Adrian felt sick. He watched Maya lift both boys now, one in each arm, and spin them around until they shrieked with laughter. Watched her set them down and race them to the slide. Watched her be everything, mother, father, entire world, for these 2 little boys who should have had him too. She'd done this alone for 4 years, while he'd been building towers and closing deals and feeling sorry for himself. Adrian stood up again. He had to talk to her, had to. Maya turned, saw him. Her face went white. For a long moment, they just stared at each other across the playground. 4 years collapsed into nothing. Every word unsaid, every choice unmade. One of the boys tugged on Maya's hand. "Mama, who's that?" Maya didn't answer. She just picked up both boys, turned around, and walked away, fast. "Maya!" Adrian called out before he could stop himself. She didn't turn back. "Maya, please." "Oh!" She broke into a run, carrying both boys toward the parking lot. Adrian ran after her. "Maya, wait, I just want to talk." She reached her car, an old sedan that had definitely seen better days, and shoved both boys into their car seats with shaking hands. Adrian caught up just as she slammed the back door. "Maya, stay away from us." Her voice was low, dangerous. "I mean it, Adrian. Stay the hell away. Those boys are none of your business. They look exactly like me." Coincidence. "Maya, you made your choice 4 years ago." She turned on him now, eyes blazing. "You told me to erase your number, to never call again. Well, I did. And now you don't get to just show up and—" "You were pregnant," Adrian's voice cracked. "When I ended things. You were pregnant, and you tried to tell me, and I blocked your number." Maya's face crumpled for just a second. Then her armor slammed back into place. "It doesn't matter now." "How can you say that? They're my sons." "No, they're my sons. Mine. I'm the one who held them when they were sick. I'm the one who worked double shifts to afford diapers. I'm the one who's been there every single day for 4 years while you were off building your empire." Her voice shook. "You don't get to be their father just because you share DNA." "I didn't know, You didn't want to know." A tear escaped down her cheek. "You made that very clear. I was a complication you couldn't afford. Well, guess what? So were they. And we survived just fine without you." She got in the car. "Maya, please, just let me—" She started the engine, threw the car into reverse, and drove away. Adrian stood in the parking lot, watching the taillights disappear, feeling like his entire foundation had just collapsed. He had sons, twin boys, 4 years old. And the woman he'd once loved, might still love, hated him with every fiber of her being. Adrian walked back to his car in a daze, sat behind the wheel, stared at nothing. Then he pulled out his phone and called Richard. "I need you to find an address for me." "Whose?" "Maya Brooks." Silence on the other end. Then, "Adrian, don't. Just find it. Now." Richard sighed. This is a mistake." "Probably. Find it anyway." 20 minutes later, Adrian had an address. The same house Richard had mentioned 2 years ago. A small place in a quiet neighborhood. Somewhere Maya had built a life without him. He drove there that night, parked across the street, watched lights turn on in the windows. He saw shadows moving inside, heard laughter through the glass, Maya's voice reading a bedtime story. This was their life. The life he'd missed. The life he'd chosen to miss. Adrian sat in that car until midnight, then drove home to his empty penthouse and didn't sleep at all. The next night, he came back. And the next. And the next. He didn't knock on the door, didn't approach the house, just watched from across the street like a ghost haunting his own future. He saw Maya leave for work in the mornings, dropping the boys at a neighbor's house. Saw her come home exhausted at night, still managing to smile when the twins ran to hug her legs. Saw her read stories, make dinner, give baths, tuck them into bed. She did everything alone. And Adrian, The man with enough money to solve almost any problem couldn't fix the one he'd created. A week of watching turned into 2. Adrian knew it was creepy, knew it was wrong, but he couldn't stop. These brief glimpses through the window were the only connection he had to the family he'd lost. Then, on night 14, someone knocked on his car window. Adrian jumped. Maya stood outside, arms crossed, face hard. "Get out of the car." His heart hammered. "Maya," I said, "get out." He did. They stood on the dark street, facing each other. Maya looked furious and scared and heartbroken, all at once. "How long have you been doing this?" she asked. 2 weeks. 2 weeks? You've been stalking my house for 2 weeks. I wasn't stalking, I needed to see them. You needed to see them, she repeated flatly. Okay, you've seen them. Now leave us alone. I can't. Why not? You did it pretty easily 4 years ago. The words hit like a slap. Adrian deserved it. I made a mistake. Yeah, you did, and I paid for it. Every single day for 4 years I paid for your mistake. Her voice shook. Do you have any idea what it was like? Finding out I was pregnant 2 weeks after you dumped me? Trying to call you and realizing you'd blocked my number? Showing up at your office and being turned away by security? Adrian's stomach dropped. You came to my office? 3 times. Your assistant said you were too busy to see me, that I should stop harassing you or she'd call the police. Maya's eyes filled with tears. So I stopped. I went home, and I figured out how to survive without you. Maya, I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't change anything. Sorry doesn't pay the medical bills. Sorry doesn't wake up at 3 a.m. with sick babies. Sorry is just a word that makes you feel better. She turned to walk away. I want to know them, Adrian said. The boys, my sons. I want to be part of their lives. Maya stopped, didn't turn around. No, you can't keep them from me. Watch me. I could get a lawyer, demand custody rights. She whirled back. You threaten me with lawyers, and I swear I will make it my life's mission to make sure those boys never know your name. They're happy, Adrian. They're safe. They don't need you showing up and confusing everything just because you suddenly feel guilty. This isn't about guilt. Then what is it about? I don't know. The admission burst out of him. I don't know what it's about. I just know that I saw them on that playground, and something inside me broke. They're mine, Maya. Our sons. And I missed everything. Their first words, their first steps, 4 years of their lives. I can't get that back, but maybe I could be there for what comes next. Why should I let you? Her voice was quieter now, but no less fierce. Give me one good reason why I should let you anywhere near my children after what you did. Adrian had no answer. No defense. No excuse that would make any of this okay. I can't, he admitted. There's no good reason. But I'm asking anyway. Please, just let me try. Maya stared at him for a long time. He watched her cycle through emotions, saw her armor crack just slightly. I'll think about it, she finally said. That's all I can promise right now. I'll think about it. Then she walked back to her house and left Adrian standing in the street, hoping that I'll think about it might somehow turn into yes. 3 days passed before Maya called. Adrian was in a board meeting when his phone buzzed. He glanced down, saw the unknown number, and nearly ignored it. Then something made him answer. Hello? Silence. Then, it's me. His heart stopped. Maya. Don't make this a big thing. I'm calling because I said I'd think about it, and I did. She sounded exhausted. You can meet them, once, for an hour. That's all I'm offering. When? Saturday, 2 o'clock. The park where you saw us. Don't be late. Don't bring anyone with you. And if you screw this up, you don't get a second chance. I'll be there. Adrian? Her voice softened just slightly. They don't know who you are. As far as they're concerned, you're just some guy their mom knows. Let's keep it that way for now. The line went dead. Adrian sat there, phone still pressed to his ear, while Richard droned on about third-quarter projections. None of it mattered. The only thing that mattered was Saturday at 2 o'clock. He left the meeting early, went home, stood in his penthouse, and tried to figure out what the hell you were supposed to say to the 4-year-old sons you'd never met. Saturday arrived too fast and not fast enough. Adrian got to the park at 1:30, sat on the same bench where he'd first seen them, watched families play, couples walk, dogs chase frisbees. Normal people living normal lives. At exactly 2 o'clock, Maya's car pulled into the parking lot. Adrian stood up. His palms were sweating. He couldn't remember the last time he'd been nervous about anything. Maya got out first. She wore jeans and an old sweater, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. No makeup. She looked young and tired and beautiful. Then she opened the back door and 2 little boys tumbled out. They were bigger up close, louder, more real than the shadows he'd watched through windows. "Easy," Maya said as they nearly tripped over each other. "Slow down." "But Mama, you said we could play." The one in the red jacket pointed at the playground. "We will, but first I need you to meet someone." She looked at Adrian, her expression unreadable. "Boys, this is Adrian. He's an old friend of mine." The twins stared at him with identical faces. Adrian felt like he was looking into a mirror that showed him who he used to be. "Hi," said the one in red. "Hi," echoed the one in blue. Adrian's throat was tight. "Hi. Which one of you is which?" "I'm Carter," said Red Jacket. "He's Connor. We're twins," Connor added, like this was very important information. "I can see that." Adrian crouched down to their level. "It's nice to meet you both." Carter tilted his head, studying Adrian's face. "You look like us." Maya tensed. "Carter." "No, he does. Look, Mama, he has the same chin thing." Carter pointed at his own face, then at Adrian's. "It's called a dimple," Connor said seriously. "We learned about it in school." Adrian couldn't help smiling. "You're right, we do have the same chin thing." "Are you related to us?" Carter asked. The question hung in the air. Maya's face had gone pale. Adrian looked at her, silently asking permission to answer. She gave the tiniest shake of her head. "No," Adrian lied. "Just a funny coincidence." Carter seemed satisfied with this. "Okay, can we go play now?" "Go ahead," Maya said. "Stay where I can see you." The boys took off running toward the playground, already arguing about who got to go down the slide first. Adrian stood up slowly, watching them go. "They're amazing." "Yeah." Maya's voice was soft. "They are." Carter's the louder one. "Usually. Connor's quieter, but he notices everything. Remembers everything too." She crossed her arms. "This was a mistake. I shouldn't have come." "Don't leave, please." "They're already asking questions I don't know how to answer." "Then let me help you answer them." Maya laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Help me? You've been in their lives for exactly 2 minutes. You don't get to help yet." Adrian watched Connor climb the ladder to the slide while Carter waited at the bottom, ready to catch him. They moved like a unit, like they'd been taking care of each other their whole lives because they'd had to. "How did you do it?" he asked quietly. 4 years alone with twins? How did you survive?" "I didn't have a choice. They needed me, so I figured it out." She sat down on the bench, suddenly looking very tired. "The first year was hell. I was living with 3 roommates in a 1-bedroom apartment, trying to finish my last semester of school while pregnant. Then the twins came early and everything fell apart. I dropped out, lost the apartment, ended up at a women's shelter for a while." Adrian felt sick. "Maya I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad. I'm telling you so you understand what we survived, what I protected them from." She watched the boys play. "I worked 3 jobs that first year. Waitressing, cleaning offices at night, weekend shifts at a grocery store. My neighbor watched the boys when I couldn't afford daycare. I lived on 4 hours of sleep and boxed mac and cheese for months." "Why didn't you reach out? To someone? Anyone?" "I did. I reached out to you, remember? You blocked my number, then I tried your office, and your assistant threatened to call the cops." She turned to look at him. "After that, I figured I was on my own. And you know what? It was better that way. I didn't have to depend on anyone. Didn't have to wonder if you'd show up or let me down. I just kept moving forward. I'm so sorry." "Stop apologizing. It doesn't change anything." They sat in silence for a while, watching the boys. Carter had convinced Connor to race him to the swings. Connor won, which made Carter demand a rematch. "They're competitive," Adrian observed. "Takes after you," Maya said without thinking. Then she caught herself. "I mean, it's okay. They do take after me. The good parts and probably some bad ones too. He hesitated. What have you told them about their father? The truth. That he's not in the picture, that it's just us three and that's enough. Is it enough? It has to be. Maya. He turned to face her. I know I have no right to ask for anything. I know I destroyed what we had. But those boys deserve to know their father, and I want to be their father. If you'll let me. You can't just decide that now. You don't know what you're asking for. Then tell me, what am I asking for? She met his eyes. You're asking to be there when Carter has nightmares about monsters in his closet, when Connor gets sick and throws up at 3 a.m, when they fight over toys and cry over scraped knees and need someone to read the same book 17 times in a row. Her voice shook. You're asking to show up every single day, not just the easy ones. To put them first, even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs you something. Can you do that? I want to try. Trying isn't good enough. They need someone who commits, someone who stays. I'm not going anywhere. You said that before. 4 years ago, you said we mattered. Then you walked away the second things got complicated. She stood up. I can't let you do that to them. I won't. Adrian stood too. I was wrong. I chose the company over you because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. I thought I was protecting my father's legacy. But I was wrong, Maya. About everything. People don't change. I'm not asking you to believe I've changed. I'm asking you to let me prove it. He looked at the boys again. Carter was showing Connor how to pump his legs on the swing, patient and encouraging. I missed their first 4 years. I can't get that back. But I don't want to miss any more. Maya followed his gaze. Her expression softened slightly. They ask about you sometimes. Not you specifically, but their dad. Why they don't have one like other kids. I tell them we're a different kind of family, and that's okay. But Carter, especially, he wants a dad. He sees other kids with their fathers and asks why he can't have that too. The words hit Adrian like a punch. What do you say? That some things don't work out the way we plan, but that doesn't mean we're not enough. She wiped her eyes quickly. I hate lying to them. I hate that I have to. Then stop. Tell them the truth. What truth? That their father chose money over them before they were even born? That he told their mother to erase his number and never call again? Maya's voice rose. How is that better than what they believe now? Because at least it's honest. And because I'm here now, trying to make it right. You can't make this right, Adrian. You can only move forward and hope that's enough. Carter called out from the swings. Mama, watch how high I can go. Maya waved. I see you. Be careful. Connor was watching them from across the playground, his expression serious and thoughtful. Too thoughtful for a 4-year-old. He knows something's up, Maya said quietly. Connor always knows. He's smart. Too smart sometimes. She sighed. Okay, here's the deal. You want to be in their lives? Fine. But we do this slow. Really slow. You don't get to be dad overnight. You don't get to show up with expensive toys and try to buy their love. You start as my friend, and we see where it goes from there. Deal. I'm not kidding about slow, Adrian. One wrong move, one sign that you're not serious about this, and I pull the plug. Their stability matters more than your guilt. Understood. And you don't tell anyone yet. Not Richard, not your board, nobody. The last thing I need is your business partner trying to make this complicated. Adrian hesitated. Richard would lose his mind if he found out. But Maya was right. Okay. I mean it. I said okay. They watched the boys for a while longer. Carter had moved on to the monkey bars while Connor was collecting pine cones near the edge of the playground. He likes organizing things, Maya said, seeing Adrian watch Connor. Lines everything up by size, drives Carter crazy because he's chaos personified. Opposites. Completely. But they balance each other out. She smiled slightly. Carter pushes Connor to be braver. Connor keeps Carter from doing stupid, dangerous things. Most of the time. Most of the time? Last week, Carter decided they should build a fort by hanging bed sheets from the ceiling fan. Connor told him it was a bad idea. Carter did it anyway. The fan came down. Nobody got hurt, but my security deposit is gone. Adrian laughed. Actual, real laughter. It felt strange and good. Sounds about right. You think it's funny now. Wait until you're the one cleaning up the mess. The hour passed too fast. Carter and Connor played while Adrian and Maya sat on the bench, trading stories. She told him about their first words, their first steps, the time they got into her makeup and painted the bathroom. He listened to everything, trying to memorize details he should have witnessed himself. When Maya's phone alarm went off, she stood up. Time's up. Already? I said 1 hour. I meant 1 hour. She called to the boys. Carter, Connor, time to go. Aw, Mama, 5 more minutes, Carter pleaded. Now. They came running over, faces flushed from playing. Connor had pockets full of pine cones. Did you have fun? Maya asked. Yeah. Carter looked at Adrian. Are you coming back? Adrian glanced at Maya. She gave a tiny nod. If your mom says it's okay, then yes. Cool. Carter seemed pleased with this answer. Connor just watched Adrian with those 2 knowing eyes. They walked back to the parking lot together. Maya loaded the boys into their car seats while Adrian stood awkwardly nearby, not sure if he was supposed to help or stay back. When she closed the door and turned to him, her expression was carefully neutral. You did okay today. Yeah. Don't let it go to your head. This was the easy part. What's the hard part? Everything else. She pulled her keys from her pocket. I'll call you next week. We'll do this again. Maybe. Maya. He stopped her before she could get in the car. Thank you for giving me this chance. Don't thank me yet. You haven't earned it. But her voice was softer than her words. Just don't screw it up. She drove away, and Adrian stood in the parking lot feeling like he'd just survived the most important meeting of his life. He went home and couldn't focus on anything. Tried to work, couldn't. Tried to read, couldn't. Everything felt different now, like the world had shifted slightly and he was seeing it from a new angle. Richard called that night. Where have you been? You missed the Henderson meeting. Something came up. What something? Personal. Adrian, I'm not discussing this, Richard. Handle Henderson. I'll catch up Monday. He hung up before Richard could argue. Monday came, and Adrian couldn't think about anything except when Maya would call. Tuesday passed. Wednesday. Thursday. By Friday, he was convinced she'd changed her mind, that she'd decided he wasn't worth the risk, that he'd never see his sons again. Then his phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? It's me. Maya sounded stressed. I need a favor. Anything. My babysitter canceled last minute, and I have a shift at the diner tonight I can't miss. I know this is asking a lot, but I'll watch them. Silence. You sure? Absolutely. More silence. This isn't like the park, Adrian. This is real parenting. Dinner, bath, bedtime routine. They can be a lot. I can handle it. If anything goes wrong, I'll call you immediately. I promise. She gave him her address. Be here at 5. Don't be late. Adrian showed up at 4:45. Maya answered the door looking frazzled. Her uniform was wrinkled, her hair half up, and she was still putting in earrings. You're early. Didn't want to risk traffic. She let him in. The house was small but clean, toys everywhere, drawings on the fridge, the kind of mess that meant people actually lived here. Okay, quick rundown. Maya grabbed a notebook from the kitchen counter. Dinner is mac and cheese in the fridge. Just heat it up. They need baths by 7. Connor likes the water warm. Carter likes it hot. Don't let them talk you into skipping teeth brushing. Bedtime is 8 sharp. Carter will try to negotiate for more stories. Don't fall for it. Got it. Connor has a nightlight. Carter doesn't, but he'll pretend he does to stay up longer. Their pajamas are in the second drawer. If anything happens, I'll call you. I'm serious, Adrian. Anything. If they fight, if someone gets hurt, if you can't handle it, Maya. He put his hands on her shoulders. I've got this. Go to work. She looked at him for a long moment, clearly struggling with trusting him. Finally, she nodded. Okay, but I'm serious about calling. I know. She grabbed her purse, called out, Boys, I'm leaving. Be good for Adrian. 2 voices yelled back, Okay, Mama? Then she was gone, and Adrian was alone with his sons. He found them in the living room building something elaborate with blocks. Connor was directing while Carter actually did the building. Hey guys? Adrian sat down on the floor near them. What are we making? A castle, Connor said, with a moat. We don't have water for the moat, Carter pointed out. We'll pretend. Adrian watched them work, fascinated by how they communicated without really talking. Carter would reach for a block, and Connor would hand him the exact one he needed. They moved like two parts of one brain. Can you help? Carter asked, offering Adrian a blue block. Where should it go? Here, for the tower. Adrian placed the block. Connor immediately adjusted it. It has to be straight or the whole thing falls. They built together for 20 minutes. The castle grew taller, more complex. Adrian found himself actually enjoying it, getting invested in whether the drawbridge would work. Then Carter knocked the whole thing over by accident. No, Connor shouted. We worked on that forever. It was an accident, Carter's face crumpled. You never pay attention. You ruin everything. I do not. Do too. Adrian watched the fight escalate, unsure whether to step in or let them work it out. Carter shoved Connor. Connor shoved back harder. Carter started crying. Hey, hey! Adrian moved between them. That's enough. Both of you. He started it, Carter sobbed. Did not. You knocked down the castle. It was an accident. Okay? Adrian took a breath. Connor, Carter didn't mean to knock it down. Carter, I know you're sorry. We can rebuild it together. I don't want to rebuild it, Connor said, his face closed off. I want to be alone. He stormed off to his room and slammed the door. Adrian looked at Carter, who was still crying. He hates me. He doesn't hate you. He's just frustrated. He always gets mad when I mess stuff up. Well, maybe next time be more careful around his projects. Adrian awkwardly patted Carter's shoulder. Come on, let's get dinner started. Maybe that'll help. Dinner was chaotic. Carter spilled his milk twice. Connor refused to eat because the mac and cheese looked weird. Adrian burned his hand on the pot and tried not to swear in front of them. Mama makes it better, Connor observed. Mama's had more practice. Adrian set plates in front of them. Eat what you can. Carter ate everything. Connor picked at his food and pushed most of it around the plate. You need to eat something, Adrian said. Not hungry. Connor, I said I'm not hungry. Connor's voice rose. You can't make me eat. Adrian remembered Maya's words about choosing battles. Fine, but no snacks later. Bath time was worse. Carter stripped down and jumped in immediately, splashing water everywhere. Connor refused to get in at all. I don't like baths, he announced. You take baths all the time, Adrian said. Not with you here. Connor, come on, you're all sweaty from playing. Don't care. Adrian tried reasoning, then bribing, then finally just physically lifting Connor into the tub. Connor screamed the whole time like Adrian was murdering him. I want Mama, Connor yelled. You're doing it wrong. What am I doing wrong? Everything. Carter, meanwhile, had dumped an entire bottle of bubble bath into the water and was making a foam mountain. Carter, that's too much. Too late. Bubbles overflowed onto the bathroom floor. Adrian spent 15 minutes cleaning up suds while Carter thought it was hilarious, and Connor sat in the corner of the tub, arms crossed, glaring at nothing. By the time both boys were clean, dried, and in pajamas, Adrian felt like he'd run a marathon, and they still had teeth brushing and bedtime to go. I don't want to brush my teeth, Carter announced. Too bad, brush, Leb. But brush, now. Carter pouted, but obeyed. Connor brushed his teeth in aggressive silence, clearly still mad about the forced bath. Adrian got them both into bed by 8:50, 15 minutes late, but close enough. He read them the story Maya had left out, doing his best with the voices. Carter laughed at all the funny parts. Connor stared at the ceiling. When the story ended, Adrian turned off the light. Good night, guys. Wait! Carter sat up. Mama always sings. Sings what? The moon song. Adrian had no idea what the moon song was. I don't know that one. Then you have to make one up. Those are the rules. Carter. Please? Carter's eyes were huge and pleading. Adrian sighed. He couldn't carry a tune to save his life, but he tried anyway. Some improvised nonsense about the moon and stars and sleeping tight. His voice cracked on half the notes. Carter giggled. You're bad at singing. Thanks, kid. But it was okay. You can sing it again tomorrow. Adrian smiled. We'll see. Now go to sleep. Okay. Carter snuggled into his pillow. Good night, Adrian. Good night, Carter. Adrian turned to leave and found Connor watching him from the other bed. "You're not our dad," Connor said quietly. The words hit harder than Adrian expected. "No, I'm not." "Then why are you here?" "Because your mom asked me to help." Connor studied him with those two old eyes. "I think you're lying." "About what?" "About why you're here, about who you are." Connor rolled over, facing the wall. "But I don't care. You'll leave anyway. They always do." Adrian stood in the doorway, throat tight. "Who always leaves?" But Connor didn't answer. Adrian went downstairs and collapsed on the couch. His shirt was soaked from bath time. His hand still hurt from the burn. His head was pounding. His phone buzzed. Maya. "How's it going?" "They're alive, both of them, fed, bathed, and in bed." "Any disasters?" "Define disaster." He heard her laugh. "That bad?" I may have traumatized Connor during bath time, and my singing voice scarred Carter for life. But overall, I think we survived. "Welcome to parenting." She sounded lighter than before, less stressed. "I'll be home in an hour. You can leave if you want." "I'll wait." She showed up at 10:30, looking exhausted. Adrian had cleaned up the kitchen and picked up the toys, trying to make the house look less like a war zone. Maya stood in the doorway, surveying the damage. "You cleaned." "Figured it was the least I could do." She walked through the living room, noticed the rebuilt block castle in the corner. "They finished it?" "We rebuilt together after dinner." Connor warmed up eventually. "He say anything to you?" "He's been quiet lately, more than usual." Adrian hesitated. "He said people always leave." Maya's face fell. "Oh. Who was he talking about?" She sat down heavily on the couch. "A few months ago, I started seeing someone. Ben. Nice guy. Good job. Actually liked kids. He was around for about 6 weeks. The boys got attached. Then he decided he wasn't ready for an instant family and bailed." She rubbed her face. "Connor took it hard. He's been waiting for the next person to leave ever since." "Maya. That's why I need you to be sure, Adrian. I can handle you breaking my heart again. I survived it once. But if you walk away from them," she looked at him, "that will destroy them, especially Connor." "I'm not going to walk away." "You can't promise that." "Yes, I can." "People make promises all the time. Ben promised he wasn't going anywhere. Then he disappeared overnight." She stood up. "You should go. It's late." Adrian stood too, but didn't move toward the door. "What do I have to do to prove I'm not him? That I'm not going to bail?" "I don't know. Show up. Keep showing up. That's all anyone can do." He wanted to argue, to convince her, to make her see that he meant it. But he could see the exhaustion in her eyes, the weight of 4 years of doing this alone. "Same time next week?" he asked. She blinked. "What?" "Next Friday. Same babysitting deal. I'll come over. You go to work. We make it a routine." "Adrian, I'm showing up, Maya. Every week. As long as you'll let me." She stared at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Okay. Next Friday, 5 o'clock. I'll be here." He left feeling like he'd passed some kind of test, or maybe just survived the first round of many. The next week, he showed up at 4:45 again. Maya was ready this time, less frazzled. The boys were excited to see him. Bath time went smoother. Bedtime, too. Adrian even nailed the moon song. The week after that, Carter hugged him goodbye. Connor didn't, but he didn't glare either. Progress. By the 4th Friday, Adrian had the routine down. He knew Connor liked his sandwich cut in triangles, not squares. That Carter needed exactly 3 bedtime stories. That they both hated broccoli but would eat it if you called it tiny trees. Small things. Normal things. The kind of things fathers were supposed to know. Maya started staying out a little longer each time, testing whether Adrian could handle it. He always could. Then one night she came home and found Adrian asleep on the couch. Carter curled up against his side, Connor on the other. All 3 of them passed out watching a movie. She stood in the doorway for a long moment, just watching, then quietly took a picture with her phone before waking them up. After that, something shifted. Not forgiveness, not quite trust, but maybe the beginning of both. 2 months into their new routine, Carter asked the question Maya had been dreading. They were at the park again, their usual Saturday morning spot now. Adrian pushed Connor on the swings while Maya sat on the bench with Carter, who was supposed to be eating his snack but kept fidgeting instead. Mama? Is Adrian our daddy? Maya's heart stopped. She looked at her son, who was staring at her with those eyes that were too much like Adrian's, waiting for an answer she didn't know how to give. Why would you ask that? Because he looks like us, and he comes over all the time, and he knows all our stuff. Carter picked at his granola bar. Tommy at school said his dad comes over like that, so I thought maybe Adrian is ours too. Across the playground, Adrian had stopped pushing Connor. He wasn't looking at them, but Maya could tell he was listening. It's complicated, baby. That's what you always say when you don't want to answer. Carter's voice got smaller. Is he? Maya took a breath. She'd promised herself she wouldn't lie to them, that when this moment came, she'd tell the truth. But sitting here, watching her 4-year-old son try to understand something she barely understood herself, the truth felt impossibly cruel. Yes, she said quietly. Adrian is your father. Carter's face lit up. Really? Really? Does Connor know? Not yet. I wanted to talk to you both together, but Carter was already running toward the swings. Connor, Adrian's our dad. Mama said so. Connor stopped mid-swing, his face confused. Adrian caught the swing before it could hit Connor in the back. What? Connor looked at Maya, then at Adrian, then back at Maya. Is that true? Maya walked over slowly, very aware that every parent in the playground was probably watching now. Yes, it's true. But you said... Connor's face was doing something complicated. You said our dad wasn't in the picture. I know, I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner. Why didn't you? Connor's voice was sharp, too sharp. Why did you lie? I didn't lie exactly. I didn't know how to explain. You said people always leave. Connor turned to Adrian, his expression hard. Is that why you weren't here before? Because you left? Adrian crouched down to Connor's level. Yeah, I left. Before you were born. I didn't know about you and your brother, but that's not an excuse. I should have been here. Why weren't you? Because I made a really bad choice. I was scared and stupid, and I thought other things were more important than your mom. I was wrong. Connor stared at him. So you're here now because you feel bad? I'm here now because I want to be, because you're my sons, and I want to know you. That's not the same as being a dad. The words hit Adrian visibly. Maya watched him absorb the blow, saw him struggling for the right response. You're right, Adrian said finally. It's not. Being a dad means showing up every day, being there when you need me. I can't change that I wasn't here before, but I'm trying to be here now. If you'll let me. Connor looked at Maya. Do we have to let him? No, baby, that's your choice. Carter had been silent this whole time, watching the exchange with wide eyes. Now he stepped closer to Adrian. I want a dad. Carter, Connor's voice was almost pleading. We don't have one. Everyone else does. Tommy has a dad, Jake has a dad, even Emma has 2 dads. Carter looked up at Adrian. Can you be ours? Adrian's voice was rough. I'd like that, if it's okay with both of you. Connor's jaw was tight. He looked between Adrian and Maya, clearly torn. Finally, he said, I need to think about it. Then he walked away, heading toward the far side of the playground where the older kids were playing basketball. Maya started to go after him, but Adrian caught her arm. Let me. He's upset. I know. That's why I should be the one to talk to him. Maya hesitated, then nodded. She watched Adrian walk across the playground, hands in his pockets, shoulders tense. Carter stayed with her, unusually quiet. Is Connor mad? Carter asked. He's confused. This is a lot to process. But it's good, right? That we have a dad now? Maya pulled him onto her lap. It's complicated, sweetheart. Connor needs time to adjust. How much time? I don't know. Adrian found Connor sitting alone on a bench near the basketball court, arms crossed, glaring at nothing. Can I sit? Adrian asked. Connor shrugged. Adrian sat, leaving space between them. For a while, neither of them spoke. They just watched the older kids play basketball, the ball bouncing against concrete, voices calling out plays. You're mad at me, Adrian said finally. I'm not mad. Okay, then what are you? Connor didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was very small. Scared. Of what? That you'll leave again. Like Ben did. Like everyone does. Connor's hands were balled into fists. Mama says people don't mean to leave, but they do anyway. And Carter gets sad, and Mama pretends she's not sad. And I have to take care of everyone because I'm the smart one. Adrian felt something crack inside his chest. Connor, I'm not going to leave. You can't promise that. Yes, I can. No, you can't. Connor turned to him, eyes wet. You already left once, before we were even born. What makes this different? Adrian didn't have a good answer. Nothing he could say would guarantee he wouldn't screw this up. He'd already proven he was capable of walking away. Why should Connor believe anything different now? You're right, Adrian said quietly. I can't promise I'll be perfect. I'll probably mess up. I'll probably disappoint you sometimes. But I can promise that I'm not going anywhere. That even when things get hard, I'll stay. Why should I believe you? Because I've been coming here every week for 2 months. Because I learned how to make your sandwiches the way you like them. Because I stayed even when you were mad at me about the bath. Adrian looked at Connor directly. I'm not Ben. I'm not some guy who's here temporarily. I'm your father. That's permanent. Connor wiped his eyes roughly. I don't need a father. Maybe not. But I need you. Both of you. Adrian's voice cracked. I missed 4 years of your life. I can't get that back. But I don't want to miss any more. So yeah, I'm asking you to take a chance on me, even though I don't deserve it, even though I left before. I'm asking you to let me try to be your dad. Connor stared at his shoes. What if you're bad at it? Then you tell me, and I'll get better. What if I don't like you? Then we work on it together. What if... Connor's voice got very quiet. What if I do like you, and then you leave anyway? There it was. The real fear. Not that Adrian would fail, but that Connor would care and then lose him anyway. Adrian wanted to promise it would never happen. Wanted to guarantee he'd be here forever. But Connor was too smart for empty promises. Then I will have broken something really important, Adrian said honestly, and I'll spend the rest of my life regretting it. But Connor, I'm asking you to trust me anyway. I know that's hard. I know I haven't earned it. But I'm here, and I'm staying, and I'm not going to stop showing up. Connor was quiet for a long time. Then, barely audible. Okay. Okay? Okay? You can try. But if you mess up, I'm telling you. Connor looked at him. And I'm not calling you dad yet. You have to earn that. Fair enough? They sat in silence for a few more minutes. Then Connor asked, Do you actually like us? Or do you just feel bad? I actually like you. You're smart and careful, and you notice things other people miss. You remind me of myself when I was your age. Mama says I'm too serious. Nothing wrong with being serious. Carter says I'm boring. Carter thinks anyone who doesn't want to build forts out of furniture is boring. Doesn't make it true. Adrian hesitated. For what it's worth, I think you're pretty great, both of you. Connor didn't smile, but some of the tension left his shoulders. We should go back. Carter's probably driving Mama crazy with questions. They walked back together. Not holding hands, not quite comfortable, but together. Maya looked up when they approached, her face anxious. Adrian gave her a small nod. Not perfect, but okay. They were okay. That night, after the boys were in bed, Maya and Adrian sat on her front steps drinking coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. That was a mess, Maya said. Could have been worse. Connor cried himself to sleep. I know, I heard. Adrian stared at his coffee cup. I handled it wrong. You handled it fine. This was always going to be hard. She set her cup down. I should have told them sooner, prepared them better. I should have been here from the start. We can't keep doing this. The blame game doesn't help anyone. Adrian looked at her. Really looked at her. She had dark circles under her eyes. Her hands were rough from work. She carried the weight of 4 years alone, and somehow she was still here, still fighting for her kids, still giving him chances he didn't deserve. How do you do it? He asked. Do what? Stay this strong. After everything, you should hate me. I did hate you, for a long time. She pulled her sleeves over her hands. When I found out I was pregnant, I was terrified. I kept thinking, he's gone. I'm alone. I can't do this. Then the twins came, and suddenly I didn't have time to be scared anymore. I just had to survive. Day by day, shift by shift, and somewhere in there, the hate turned into something else. What? Indifference, I guess. You became this abstract idea. The guy who wasn't there. It hurt less when I stopped thinking of you as Adrian and started thinking of you as just the absence. She looked at him. Then you showed up at that park, and suddenly you were real again. And I had to figure out how to feel about that. How do you feel about it now? Honestly, I don't know. Some days I'm glad you're here. Some days I wish you'd stayed gone because it was simpler that way. She picked at her coffee cup. The boys complicate it. If it was just me, I could tell you to leave and mean it. But they need you, Carter especially. He lights up when you're around. What about Connor? Connor needs you too. He just doesn't trust easily. Never has. Even as a baby, he'd watch people for weeks before warming up to them. She smiled slightly. Carter would smile at anyone. Connor would study them like he was collecting evidence. He asked me today if I actually like them or just feel guilty. What did you say? The truth, that I like them. Adrian set his cup down. I meant it, Maya. They're incredible kids, smart and funny and resilient. You did an amazing job raising them. We're not done yet. Plenty of time for me to screw them up. You won't. You don't know that. I make mistakes all the time. I lose my temper. I let them watch too much TV when I'm tired. I feed them cereal for dinner sometimes. She laughed, but it sounded hollow. I'm winging this whole parenting thing. So am I. Yeah, but you get to walk away at the end of the night. I don't. The words hung between them. Maya looked like she regretted them immediately, but didn't take them back. You're right, Adrian said. I do get to leave, but I don't want to. What does that mean? It means I want to be here more. Not just Fridays, not just when you need a babysitter. I want to be part of their daily lives. Maya's expression closed off. Adrian, I'm not asking to move in or change everything. I'm just saying I want more than supervised visits. I want to take them to school sometimes, come to their activities, be there for dinner, normal dad stuff. Normal dads earn that over time. Then let me earn it. Tell me what I need to do. It's not that simple. Why not? Because she stopped, frustrated. Because letting you deeper into our lives means risking more. Right now, if you leave, they'll be sad. But if you become part of our daily routine and then you bail, that will destroy them. I'm not going to bail. You keep saying that because it's true. Prove it. She stood up. Don't just say you want to be here. Actually be here. Show up when it's inconvenient, when the boys are sick or cranky or driving you crazy, when there's no fun reward at the end, when it's just the hard work of being a parent. Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay. Tell me when and where, and I'll be there. Maya stared at him like she was trying to find the catch. Just like that? Just like that. She shook her head slowly. I don't understand you. What's to understand? 4 years ago, you chose your company over me, over us. Now you're ready to drop everything to play house? I'm not playing anything, and I'm not choosing the company over you anymore. What about Richard, your board, the empire you were so desperate to protect? They'll adjust? Just like that? Just like that. Maya laughed, but there was no humor in it. You're either lying or delusional. I'm neither. I'm just done pretending work matters more than family. Easy to say when you haven't had to face the consequences yet. She was right. Adrian hadn't told Richard anything, hadn't explained the missing Fridays or the distracted meetings, hadn't mentioned that he had twin sons who were slowly becoming the most important part of his life. I'll tell Richard this week, Adrian said. Tell him what? Everything. About you, about the boys, about wanting to be in their lives. Maya's eyes widened. Adrian, don't. I have to. You're right. I can't keep doing this halfway. Either I commit to being their father or I don't. There's no middle ground. Richard will lose his mind. Probably. He'll try to stop you. He can try. Maya sat back down slowly. Why now? What changed? Connor asked me today if I actually liked them or just felt guilty. And I realized I couldn't answer him completely honestly while I'm still hiding them from everyone else. Like there's some secret I'm ashamed of. Adrian looked at her. I'm not ashamed. I'm proud. I want people to know I have sons, that I'm trying to be their father. Even if it costs you the company? Even then. She studied him for a long moment. You mean that? I do. You're insane. Maybe. But I'm also serious. Maya wrapped her arms around herself. If you do this, there's no going back. Once Richard knows, once your board knows, it becomes real. You can't just change your mind later. I don't want to change my mind. What if they make you choose, the company or us? I choose you every time. You say that now, Maya. He turned to face her fully. 4 years ago, I chose wrong. I chose money and legacy and responsibility over the person I loved. I've regretted it every single day since. I'm not making that mistake again. She looked at him like she wanted to believe it but couldn't quite let herself. I need you to be sure. Because once the boys know you've told people, once they think this is permanent, you can't take it back without breaking them. I'm sure. Adrian? I'm sure, he repeated. I want this. I want them. I want to be their father, publicly, permanently, whatever it takes. Maya's eyes were wet. Okay. Okay? Okay. Tell Richard. Tell your board. Tell whoever you need to tell. She wiped her eyes. But if you change your mind, I won't. If you do, she continued, I will make sure you never see them again. I don't care what lawyers you hire or what rights you claim. You walk away from them now and you're done. Forever. Understood. They sat in silence for a while. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. A car drove past. Normal neighborhood sounds. The kind of sounds Adrian never noticed from his penthouse. I'm scared, Maya admitted quietly. Of what? That I'm making a mistake, letting you in, trusting you. She looked at him. What if you hurt them? Then you get to say, I told you so, and hate me forever. That's not funny. I'm not joking. Adrian reached over and took her hand. She didn't pull away. I'm going to screw up, Maya. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to disappoint them sometimes. But I promise you, I will never intentionally hurt them, and I will never stop trying to be the father they deserve. Her hand was small in his, calloused from work, real and warm and alive. Okay, she said again, quieter this time. They sat like that until the coffee went completely cold and the streetlights came on. Then Maya pulled her hand away gently and stood up. It's late. You should go. Yeah. Adrian stood too. Same time Friday? Actually, she hesitated. Connor has a school thing Thursday morning, parent breakfast. If you want to come. To his school? Yeah, it's not a big deal. Just pancakes in the cafeteria and meeting his teacher. But if you want to start being more involved, I'll be there. What time? 8:30. I'll text you the address. Okay. Adrian headed to his car, then turned back. Maya? Yeah? Thank you for giving me another chance. She didn't answer, just gave him a small wave and went inside. Adrian drove home through empty streets, his mind racing. He had to tell Richard, tomorrow, before he lost his nerve. The next morning, Adrian showed up at the office at 7. Richard was already there, as always, reviewing reports in his corner office. We need to talk, Adrian said. Richard looked up, reading something in Adrian's expression. That bad? Depends on your perspective. Adrian closed the door. I have twin sons, 4 years old. I just found out about them 2 months ago. Richard went very still. Excuse me? Maya Brooks, the woman I dated 4 years ago. She was pregnant when I ended things. I blocked her number before she could tell me. Christ, Adrian. Richard set down his papers. Are you sure they're yours? They look exactly like me. That's not... They're mine, Richard. No question. Richard leaned back in his chair, processing. Okay. This is manageable. We get a paternity test to confirm, set up a trust fund, child support, keep it quiet. The board doesn't need to know. No. No? I'm not keeping them quiet. I'm not treating them like a secret or a scandal. Adrian's voice was firm. They're my sons. I want to be their father, publicly. Adrian, think about what you're saying. I have thought about it. The board will lose their minds, the investors. I don't care. You don't care? Richard stood up. You don't care that this could tank the Meridian deal? That Peterson Industries will walk if they think you're unstable? Then they walk. Adrian, I'm done choosing business over family. I did that 4 years ago, and it was the worst decision of my life. I'm not doing it again. Richard stared at him. You're serious? Completely. You're willing to risk everything your father built? Everything you've worked for? Yes. For what? A woman who kept your children from you for 4 years and 2 kids you barely know? Adrian's hands clenched. Watch it. I'm trying to save you from yourself. Richard's voice rose. You think this is some fairy tale? That you'll play house and everything will be fine. She hid your sons from you, Adrian, for 4 years, and now you're ready to throw away your career for her? She didn't hide them. I blocked her number. I refused to see her. This is my fault, not hers. You're being manipulated. Get out! Richard blinked. What? You heard me? Get out of my office. Adrian, I'm trying to help. Be it. No, you're trying to control me, like you've been doing for years, making decisions for me, telling me what I can and can't afford, who I should and shouldn't care about. Adrian's voice was ice. I'm done. I'm making my own choices now, and if you can't support that, then we have nothing more to discuss. Richard's face hardened. You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. The board won't stand for this. Then I'll step down. You'd give up the company? Just like that? If that's what it takes? Yes. Richard grabbed his briefcase. You're going to regret this. Probably, but I'll regret staying away from my sons more. Richard walked to the door, stopped. Your father would be disappointed. The words were meant to cut. They did. But Adrian didn't flinch. My father worked himself to death for this company, missed every important moment of my childhood, died alone in his car at 2 a.m. Adrian's voice was steady. I loved him, but I don't want to be him. Richard left without another word. Adrian sat alone in his office, his hands shaking slightly. He'd just blown up his entire professional life, alienated his closest advisor, possibly destroyed his company's stability. And he didn't regret it. He pulled out his phone and texted Maya. Told Richard it went about as well as expected, still coming Thursday. She responded 3 minutes later. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, thank you. Thursday morning, Adrian showed up at Connor's school at 8:15. Maya was already there, waiting by the entrance with both boys. You're early, she said. Didn't want to risk being late. Connor looked at him warily. Carter bounced with excitement. Adrian's coming to our school, Carter announced to anyone within earshot. They signed in at the front desk. The security guard gave Adrian a visitor badge. They walked down halls covered in children's artwork, following the sound of chaos toward the cafeteria. The parent breakfast was exactly what Adrian expected. Loud, crowded, sticky. Parents clustered in groups while kids ran wild. The pancakes were rubbery. The orange juice was watered down. It was perfect. Connor's teacher, Mrs. Patterson, made a point of introducing herself. You must be Connor's father. He's told me all about you. Adrian glanced at Connor, surprised. He has? Oh, yes. Very excited that you're here today. She smiled. Connor's a wonderful student, very bright. Sometimes he gets frustrated when the other children don't keep up, but we're working on patience. They ate pancakes at a tiny table designed for 4-year-olds. Adrian's knees hit the underside. Carter spilled syrup on his shirt. Connor ate methodically, cutting his pancakes into perfect squares. Other parents stared. Adrian could see them whispering, probably recognizing him from the news or the building with his name on it. He didn't care. After breakfast, Mrs. Patterson invited parents to see the classroom. Connor showed Adrian his cubby, his desk, the reading corner where he liked to hide during free time. This is my favorite book, Connor said, pulling out a worn copy of a science book about space. I've read it 7 times. 7 times. It has good pictures. Adrian flipped through it. We could get you more books like this if you want. Connor looked at him carefully. You don't have to buy us stuff. I know, but I want to, if it's something you'd like. Connor considered this. Maybe. I'll think about it. Progress. Slow, careful progress. When it was time to leave, Carter hugged both Adrian and Maya goodbye. Connor didn't hug Adrian, but he did say, "Thanks for coming." "Anytime," Adrian said. "Seriously, anytime you want me here, I'll be here." Connor nodded and ran off to join his class. Maya and Adrian walked out together, Carter between them holding both their hands. "That went well," Maya said. "Yeah, it did. Connor actually talked to you." "I noticed." "That's huge for him." They reached the parking lot. Carter ran ahead to Maya's car, leaving them alone for a moment. "Thank you for inviting me," Adrian said. "Thank you for coming." She unlocked her car. "Same time Friday?" "Actually, I was thinking," he stopped. "Never mind. Friday's good." "What were you going to say?" "Nothing. It's stupid." "Adrian." He took a breath. "I was going to ask if I could come over for dinner one night this week. Nothing formal. Just dinner with you guys, like a family." Maya's expression shifted, something soft and scared and hopeful all at once. "Okay," she said quietly. "Wednesday, 6 o'clock. But you're helping cook." "Deal." She got in her car. Carter waved from the back seat. Adrian waved back, watching them drive away. His phone buzzed. Richard. "Board meeting Monday, 9 a.m. Mandatory attendance." Adrian deleted the message. Whatever happened Monday, he'd deal with it. Right now, he had dinner plans Wednesday and babysitting Friday and a whole future opening up in front of him. For the first time in 4 years, Adrian felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Wednesday dinner never happened. Tuesday night, Maya called at 11:30, her voice shaking. "Connor's sick, really sick. I'm taking him to the ER." Adrian was out of bed before she finished the sentence. "I'm coming." "You don't have to." "What hospital?" She told him. He was there in 20 minutes. He found them in the waiting room. Connor was curled up in Maya's lap, his face flushed with fever, breathing shallow. Carter sat next to them, eyes wide and scared, still in his pajamas. "Hey." Adrian crouched in front of them. "What happened?" "High fever. Started around 10. I gave him medicine, but it wouldn't break. Then he started having trouble breathing." Maya's hand was shaking against Connor's back. "They're waiting on a room to open up." Connor's eyes were half closed, glassy with fever. He didn't seem to recognize Adrian. "Carter, you okay?" Adrian asked. Carter shook his head. "Is Connor going to die?" "No, buddy. He's going to be fine. The doctors here are going to help him." "How do you know?" "Because they're really good at their jobs." A nurse called Connor's name. Maya stood up carrying him. Adrian automatically reached for Carter. "Come on, we'll go with them." They followed Maya through double doors into the emergency department. The nurse led them to a small room with a bed and too many machines. Maya laid Connor down gently. "Can you tell me what symptoms he's been experiencing?" the nurse asked, pulling out a thermometer. Maya rattled off the details: fever, difficulty breathing, lethargy. The nurse nodded, took Connor's temperature, 103.8, and left to get the doctor. Carter pressed himself against Adrian's side. "I'm scared." "I know. Me too." Adrian pulled him closer. "But your mom's here, and the doctors are here, and we're going to take care of Connor." The doctor came in, a tired-looking woman in her 40s. She examined Connor, asked more questions, ordered tests. Words like pneumonia and respiratory distress floated around the room. Maya's face went white. "Pneumonia? We're not sure yet. We'll know more after the chest x-ray." The doctor made notes on her tablet. "For now, we're going to get him on oxygen and start an IV with fluids and antibiotics." Connor whimpered when they inserted the IV. Maya held his hand, whispering reassurances that Adrian couldn't hear. Carter buried his face against Adrian's shirt. "I don't like this." "I know. Neither do I." They moved Connor to a room on the pediatric floor around 2 in the morning. The x-ray confirmed pneumonia. Not severe yet, but enough to require hospital admission for monitoring. Maya hadn't left Connor's side once. She sat in a chair pulled up next to his bed, holding his hand, her face drawn and exhausted. "You should rest," Adrian said quietly. "I'm fine." "Maya," "I said I'm fine." Her voice was sharp, then softer. Sorry, I can't sleep, not while he's like this. Carter had fallen asleep on Adrian's lap, curled up awkwardly. Adrian's arm was going numb, but he didn't move. What about Carter? Maya asked. He should be in a real bed. He's okay here, I've got him. You don't have to stay, you should go home. I'm not leaving. Adrian, I'm not leaving, he repeated firmly. You need someone here. Carter needs someone here. So I'm staying. She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. Okay. The night dragged on. Nurses came and went, checking Connor's vitals, adjusting his oxygen. His fever finally broke around 4 a.m. He opened his eyes, saw Maya, and whispered, Mama? I'm here, baby, right here. Where am I? The hospital. You got sick, but you're going to be okay. Connor's gaze drifted, found Adrian holding Carter. Adrian? Hey, Connor, how you feeling? Tired? His eyes closed again. Is Carter okay? Yeah, he's asleep. He was worried about you. Tell him I'm okay. I will. Connor drifted back to sleep. Maya's shoulders finally relaxed. He's going to be fine, Adrian said. I know, Her voice cracked. This is the worst part. When they're sick and there's nothing I can do except wait. You're doing everything right. Doesn't feel like it. She wiped her eyes. I should have noticed sooner. He was coughing yesterday, but I thought it was just a cold. Maya, you can't blame yourself. I'm his mother. I'm supposed to keep him safe. You did. You brought him here. You got him help. She didn't answer, just stared at Connor's sleeping face. Adrian shifted Carter slightly, trying to restore blood flow to his arm. The kid was heavier than he looked. You can put him on the couch, Maya said, gesturing to the small vinyl couch against the wall. Adrian stood carefully, laid Carter down, covered him with his jacket. Carter stirred but didn't wake. Adrian sat back down next to Maya. They watched Connor breathe, the oxygen mask fogging with each exhale. Thank you for coming, Maya said quietly. Of course. I mean it. You didn't have to. It's 3 a.m. You probably have work tomorrow. I'm exactly where I need to be. She looked at him. You really mean that? Yeah, I do. What about your board meeting Monday? Adrian had forgotten all about it. Doesn't matter. Adrian, it doesn't matter, he repeated. My son is in the hospital. That's what matters. Everything else can wait. Maya's eyes filled with tears. I'm not used to this. Used to what? Having someone else here, someone to help carry it. She wiped her face roughly. I've been doing this alone for so long. Every sick night, every emergency, every moment I was terrified I was failing them. It was just me. And now you're here and I don't know how to feel about it. You don't have to feel anything, just let me help. What if I get used to it? What if I start depending on you being here, and then I'm not going anywhere? You keep saying that. Because it's true. She laughed softly, but it sounded broken. 4 years ago, you told me we mattered. Then you walked away. How do I know this is different? Adrian didn't have a good answer. Nothing he could say would erase the past or guarantee the future. All he had was right now. This moment. This choice. You don't know, he admitted. You just have to trust me. That's asking a lot. I know. They sat in silence. The hospital hummed around them. Machines beeped. Footsteps passed in the hallway. Somewhere down the corridor, a baby cried. I'm scared, Maya whispered. Of what? Of letting you all the way in. Of believing this is real. She looked at him. Of getting hurt again. I can't promise I won't hurt you. People hurt each other sometimes, even when they don't mean to. But I can promise I'm not going to abandon you, not again. How can you be sure? Because the last 4 years have been hell. I've had everything I thought I wanted, money, success, power, and I've been miserable. Because none of it mattered without you, without them. He gestured to the boys. I'm not walking away from this. I can't, even if I wanted to. Maya studied his face like she was trying to find the lie. Okay? Okay? Okay, I'll try to trust you, but you have to be patient with me because trusting people doesn't come easy anymore. I can do patient. She almost smiled. We'll see. The sun came up slowly. Gray light filtered through the hospital window. Connor's breathing had evened out. His color looked better. Carter woke up around 7, disoriented and cranky. Where are we? Hospital, buddy. Remember? Connor got sick. Carter sat up, saw Connor in the bed. Is he okay? He's sleeping. He's going to be fine. Can I see him? Maya gestured Carter over. He climbed onto her lap, staring at his brother with worried eyes. He looks weird with that thing on his face, Carter said. It's helping him breathe better. Does it hurt? No, baby. It doesn't hurt. Carter seemed satisfied with this. He curled against Maya, thumb in his mouth, something he only did when he was really stressed. A nurse brought breakfast, rubbery eggs and toast. Carter ate everything. Maya picked at hers. Adrian drank terrible coffee and tried to stay awake. Connor woke up around 9, more alert this time. The first thing he said was, I miss school. Maya laughed, relieved. You're worried about school? Mrs. Patterson said perfect attendance matters. I think she'll understand. The doctor came by mid-morning. Connor's lungs sounded better. Fever was down. They wanted to keep him another day for observation, but he was improving. Can I go home today? Connor asked. Tomorrow, probably, the doctor said. If you keep improving. Connor looked disappointed. I don't like hospitals. Nobody does, buddy, Adrian said. Will you stay? Connor asked, looking at Adrian. Adrian glanced at Maya. She nodded slightly. Yeah, I'll stay. What about work? Work can wait. Connor seemed to accept this. Okay. Maya's phone rang. She stepped into the hallway to answer it. Adrian could hear her voice through the door, talking to her boss at the diner, explaining she couldn't come in, probably losing the shift. When she came back, her expression was tight. Everything okay? Adrian asked. Fine, just work stuff. Did you lose your shift? It's fine. Maya, I said it's fine. She sat back down next to Connor. We'll figure it out. Adrian wanted to argue, to offer money, to fix it, but he could see from her face that she didn't want that kind of help. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The day crawled by. Connor dozed on and off. Carter got bored and restless. Maya tried to keep him entertained with coloring books a nurse brought, but Carter's attention span was short on a good day. In a hospital room, it was non-existent. I'm bored, Carter announced for the 10th time. I know, baby. Can we go to the playroom? I need to stay with Connor. But I'm bored. Maya looked exhausted. Adrian stood up. I'll take him. You sure? Yeah, we'll find something to do. Come on, Carter. They wandered the pediatric floor, found a small playroom with toys and books. Carter made a beeline for the blocks. Let's build something, he said. What should we build? A hospital, for toys. They built a sprawling toy hospital with block walls and action figure patients. Carter narrated elaborate medical emergencies while Adrian tried to keep up with the plot. This guy broke his leg skateboarding, Carter explained, holding up a superhero. And this one ate too much pizza and his stomach hurts. That's a lot of patients. It's a busy hospital. They played for an hour, then Carter got hungry. Adrian found a cafeteria, bought chicken nuggets and apple juice. Carter ate while swinging his legs under the table. Are you really our dad? Carter asked suddenly. Adrian had been dreading this question. Yeah, I am. Why weren't you here before? Because I made a bad choice. I left before you were born, and I didn't know about you and Connor. Mama said you didn't want us. The words hit like a physical blow. That's not true. I didn't know about you. If I had known, I would have been there. Carter considered this. Mama doesn't lie. She's not lying, she's telling you what she thought was true. I gave her good reason to think I didn't want a family, but I was wrong, and I'm really sorry. Do you want us now? More than anything. Even more than your work? Even more than my work. Carter ate a nugget thoughtfully. Mama works a lot. She's always tired. I know. Sometimes she cries at night. She thinks we don't hear, but we do. Adrian's chest tightened. Does she cry a lot? Sometimes, when the bills come, or when something breaks and she can't fix it. Carter looked up at him. Will you help her, so she doesn't have to cry? Yeah, buddy, I'll help her. Good, because she's sad a lot. She tries to hide it, but I can tell. They finished eating and went back to Connor's room. Maya was asleep in the chair next to Connor's bed, her head tilted at an uncomfortable angle, one hand still holding Connor's. Adrian picked up the blanket from the couch, draped it over her shoulders. She didn't wake. Connor was awake, watching cartoons on the TV with the sound turned low. "Hey," Adrian whispered. "How you feeling?" "Better. Still tired, though." "That's normal. Your body needs rest to heal." Carter climbed onto the couch, immediately fell asleep. Hospital days were exhausting even when you weren't sick. Adrian sat down in the other chair. Connor looked at him, then at Maya. "She stayed all night, didn't she?" Connor asked. "Yeah. She always does when we're sick. She loves you a lot." "I know." Connor was quiet for a moment. "You stayed too." "Yeah." "Why?" "Because I wanted to be here." Connor processed this. "Ben never stayed. When Carter had the flu last year, Mama asked him to help and he said he had to work." "I'm not Ben." "I know. You're our dad." Connor said it matter-of-factly, like he was still getting used to the idea. "Does that mean you'll always stay? When we're sick or scared or something?" "That's exactly what it means." "What if we're sick a lot? I get pneumonia sometimes. The doctor said I have weak lungs or something." "Then I'll be here a lot." "What about your work?" "My work will adjust." Connor looked skeptical. "Grown-ups always say that. Then they leave anyway." "I'm not going to leave." "How do you know?" "Because I've already left once, and it was the worst mistake of my life. I'm not making it again." Connor studied him with those two serious eyes. "Okay. But if you do leave, I'm going to be really mad." "Fair enough." They watched cartoons together in comfortable silence. Maya slept for another hour before waking up with a start, disoriented. "What time is it?" 2:30, Adrian said. "Why didn't you wake me?" "You needed sleep." She rubbed her face, looked at Connor. "How are you feeling, baby?" "Better. Can I have food?" "That's a good sign." She stood up, stretched. "I'll ask the nurse." Connor was cleared for soft foods. Maya went to get him soup from the cafeteria. While she was gone, Adrian's phone buzzed. "Richard." "Board meeting started an hour ago. Where are you?" Adrian had completely forgotten. He texted back, "Yeah, family emergency. Handle it." "This is your company, Adrian. You can't just skip board meetings." "Watch me." His phone rang. He declined the call. It rang again. He turned it off. When Maya came back with soup, she saw his dark phone screen. "Everything okay?" "Fine." "Was that work?" "It doesn't matter." "Adrian, Maya, I'm here because I want to be here. Work can survive without me for one day." "You're going to get in trouble." "Probably." "That doesn't bother you?" "Not as much as leaving would." She set the soup down, sat next to him. "You're really not like other guys, are you?" "I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to make up for lost time." "That's a lot of time to make up for." "Then I better get started." Connor ate his soup slowly. The doctor came by again in the evening. Connor's improvement was steady. They could probably go home tomorrow if his numbers stayed good overnight. "Can Adrian stay again?" Connor asked Maya. "I don't think—" "Please. I sleep better when you're both here." Maya looked at Adrian. He shrugged. "I can sleep anywhere." "Okay," she said finally. "He can stay." They settled in for another night. The nurses brought a cot for Adrian. It was about 3 feet too short, and the mattress was like sleeping on cardboard, but he didn't care. Carter and Maya shared the couch. Connor slept in the hospital bed. They turned off the lights around 9. Adrian lay awake, listening to the boys breathe. Connor's oxygen machine hummed. Carter snored softly. Maya shifted restlessly, probably as uncomfortable as Adrian was. Around midnight, she whispered, "You awake?" "Yeah." "Can't sleep either?" "Not really." She was quiet for a moment. "Thank you for staying. I know this isn't how you probably wanted to spend your week." "There's nowhere else I'd rather be." "You're a terrible liar." "I'm not lying." "Adrian, you're sleeping on a cot the size of a surfboard in a hospital room. There are about 1,000,000 places you'd rather be." "Name one." She thought about it. "Your penthouse with the city view and the king-size bed. Overrated, too quiet, too empty. Your office with all your important meetings. Boring, full of people who only care about money. literally anywhere without fluorescent lighting and the smell of antiseptic. But then I wouldn't be here with you, with them. So no, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. He heard her breath catch. You really mean that? I really mean that. Silence. Then very quietly, I think I'm starting to believe you. Good. That's a start. They lay in the darkness, listening to their sons breathe, and for the first time in 4 years, Adrian felt something close to peace. The next day, Connor was cleared to go home. His oxygen levels were good. Fever gone. Still tired and weak, but improving. They loaded into Maya's car, Connor and Carter in their car seats, Adrian following behind in his own car. When they got to Maya's house, Adrian helped get the boys inside. Connor went straight to the couch, still exhausted. Carter bounced around with renewed energy, glad to be home. Maya looked at Adrian awkwardly. You don't have to stay. I know. But you're going to anyway. If that's okay. She smiled slightly. Yeah, it's okay. Adrian stayed for dinner, helped Maya cook pasta while the boys watched a movie. It was simple, domestic, normal. It was everything. After dinner, while Maya gave the boys baths, Adrian checked his phone for the first time in 2 days. 43 missed calls, 27 voicemails, hundreds of emails. He deleted all of them. One text from Richard stood out. Emergency board vote scheduled for tomorrow. They're discussing removing you as CEO. Call me. Adrian stared at the message. 4 years ago, this would have sent him into panic mode. Now, he felt nothing but tired resignation. He texted back, let them vote. Maya found him on the front steps an hour later. Boys are asleep, both asking for you to say goodnight. Yeah, I'll go up. You okay? You look stressed. Just work stuff. Bad work stuff? They're voting tomorrow on whether to remove me as CEO. Her face went white. Because of us? Because I missed the board meeting. Because I've been distracted. Because Richard probably told them I'm unreliable. He shrugged. Doesn't matter. They'll vote however they vote. Adrian, this is your company, and they're my sons. My choice is made. She sat down next to him. I don't want to be the reason you lose everything. You're not. I'm choosing this. There's a difference. Is there? Yeah, 4 years ago I gave you up because other people told me I should. This time I'm making my own choice. And I choose you. I choose them. Every time. Maya's eyes were wet. You're going to regret this. Maybe. But I'll regret losing them more. She leaned against his shoulder, just for a moment. Then she pulled away, stood up. Come on, the boys are waiting. Adrian went upstairs, said goodnight to Carter, who was already half asleep. Then Connor. You're coming back, right? Connor asked. Tomorrow. After school. I'll be here. Promise? Promise. Connor smiled. Actually smiled. The first real smile Adrian had seen from him. Good night, Dad. The word hit Adrian like lightning. Dad. Not Adrian. Dad. Good night, Connor. He made it to his car before the emotion overwhelmed him, sat in the driver's seat with tears running down his face, his hands shaking. Connor had called him Dad. 4 years of mistakes, 4 years of absence, and somehow, impossibly, his son had called him Dad. Adrian drove home to his empty penthouse and didn't sleep all night. Tomorrow the board would probably vote to remove him. Tomorrow his professional life might implode. Tomorrow everything could fall apart. But tonight, for the first time in 4 years, Adrian Vale had been called Dad. And that made everything worth it. The board meeting started at 9. Adrian showed up at 8:45. Richard was waiting outside the conference room, arms crossed. You actually came. Did you think I wouldn't? Honestly? Yes. Richard's expression was carefully neutral. You've been MIA for 3 days, missed 2 critical meetings, ignored every attempt to contact you. The board thinks you've lost your mind. Maybe I have. This isn't funny, Adrian. They're serious about the vote. Let them vote. You could lose everything your father built. My father built a company. I'm building a life. There's a difference. Adrian moved toward the conference room door. Are we doing this or not? Inside, 8 board members sat around the table, all men over 50, all wearing the same expression of disapproval. Adrian recognized the look. He'd seen it his entire life. The same look they'd given his father when he'd made risky decisions. The same look they'd given Adrian when he'd taken over at 23. He sat down at the head of the table. Let's get started. Marcus Peterson, the oldest board member and biggest shareholder after Adrian, leaned forward. Before we begin, I think we deserve an explanation. Where have you been? With my family. What family? You're not married, no children that we know of. I have twin sons, 4 years old. I've been at the hospital with one of them. Pneumonia. Silence. Complete shocked silence. Richard's face had gone pale. This wasn't how he'd wanted the board to find out. You have children? Peterson's voice was sharp. And you never disclosed this? I didn't know about them until 2 months ago. Their mother and we lost touch. She tried to contact me when she was pregnant. I blocked her number. Adrian met Peterson's eyes steadily. My mistake. One I'm spending every day trying to correct. This is exactly the kind of instability we were concerned about, another board member said. Secret children? Hospital visits during critical business negotiations? They're not secret. I just told you about them. And the mother? Who is she? Some kind of opportunist looking for a payout? Adrian's hands clenched under the table. Watch how you talk about her. Adrian, Richard warned. No, I'm not sitting here while you disrespect the mother of my children. Adrian stood up. Her name is Maya Brooks. She's been raising our sons alone for 4 years because I was too much of a coward to answer her calls. She works 2 jobs to keep a roof over their heads. She's the strongest person I've ever met. And she doesn't want my money. She wants me to be a father to our sons. So that's what I'm doing. At the expense of this company, Peterson said coldly. The company will survive. It always has. Not without leadership, not without someone who's committed. I am committed, just not only to this. Adrian gestured around the room. For years, I've given you everything. 80-hour weeks, canceled vacations, missed birthdays and holidays, and anything resembling a personal life. I built this company into something my father would be proud of, but I'm done sacrificing everything else for it. Then perhaps you're not the right person to lead us forward, Peterson said. Maybe I'm not. Adrian's voice was calm. So let's vote. You want me out? Vote me out. But understand something first. I'm not my father. I'm not going to work myself to death for a legacy that won't matter when I'm gone. My sons matter. Being there for them matters. If you can't accept that, then we don't belong working together anyway. He sat back down. Waited. Peterson looked at the other board members. All in favor of removing Adrian Vale as CEO? 3 hands went up. Peterson's and 2 others. Opposed? 4 hands, plus Richard's, which surprised Adrian. 1 abstention. Peterson's face darkened. The motion fails. Mr. Vale retains his position as CEO. He stood up. But understand this, Adrian. Your father built this company on sacrifice and dedication. If you're not willing to make the same commitment, perhaps you should consider stepping down voluntarily. Or perhaps you should consider that there are different ways to lead, different priorities that matter just as much as profit margins. Adrian gathered his papers. My father died at 56 behind the wheel of his car, driving home from a meeting at 2 in the morning. He never saw me graduate college, never met anyone I dated, never knew what I wanted for my life because he was always too busy building this company. I loved him. But I'm not going to be him. He walked out before anyone could respond. Richard caught up with him in the hallway. That was reckless. That was honest. You almost lost everything. I kept everything that matters. Richard stared at him. I don't understand you anymore. I know. That's okay. Adrian stopped, turned to face him. Richard, you've been my mentor since I was 19 years old. You taught me everything about running this company. I'm grateful for that. But you also taught me that nothing matters more than the business, and I'm telling you now, you were wrong. My father is dead, Richard. He worked himself into an early grave. And for what? So that we could argue in boardrooms about quarterly earnings? Adrian shook his head. I have 2 sons who need me. A woman who's giving me a second chance I don't deserve. That matters more than any deal we're negotiating. What about Peterson? He'll fight you every step of the way now. Let him fight. I'll handle Peterson. How? You barely survived that vote. I survived because 4 board members think family matters. The company will adapt. And if it doesn't, then maybe it's not the company I want to run anymore. Richard looked like Adrian had slapped him. You'd actually walk away? In a heartbeat. If it meant being there for my sons. Richard was quiet for a long moment. Then quietly, I never had children, never married. Gave everything to this company, just like your father did. And now I'm 62 years old, living alone in a condo, working 70 hours a week because I have nothing else. He met Adrian's eyes. Don't be me. Richard, I mean it. If you have a chance at something real, take it. The company will survive. It always does. But you only get one chance to be a father. Adrian didn't know what to say. In 15 years, Richard had never said anything that personal. Thank you, Adrian said finally. Richard nodded. Now go. I'll handle Peterson and the damage control. You have a family to get home to. Adrian left the building feeling lighter than he had in years. His phone buzzed. Maya. How'd it go? I'm still CEO, barely. Adrian, it's fine. I meant what I said. The company's not more important than you guys. Silence. Then, Connor's asking for you. Says you promised to be here after school. Adrian checked his watch. 2:30. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He made it in 15. Maya opened the door, looking surprised. You really came. I promised, didn't I? Connor appeared behind her, still looking pale and tired from his hospital stay, but his face lit up when he saw Adrian. You came! Of course I came. Connor ran to him. Adrian scooped him up, careful of his still healing lungs. Carter appeared seconds later, demanding his own hug. Did you bring us anything? Carter asked hopefully. Carter? Maya scolded. You don't ask people that. It's okay. Adrian set both boys down. Actually, I did bring something. It's in the car. He came back with a bag of books. Science books for Connor, adventure books for Carter. Nothing expensive, just things he'd picked up at a bookstore on his way over. Connor's eyes went huge. These are all for me? If you want them. Connor clutched the books like they were treasure. Thank you. You're welcome. They spent the afternoon reading together. Adrian attempted voices for different characters, which made Carter laugh and Connor critique his accuracy. Maya made dinner while listening to them play, a small smile on her face. Over dinner, Carter announced, Tommy's dad is coaching t-ball this summer. Can Adrian coach? Adrian looked at Maya, who looked just as surprised as he felt. I don't know anything about coaching t-ball, Adrian admitted. That's okay. Neither does Tommy's dad. He just yells a lot and brings snacks. I can probably handle that. So you'll do it? Carter bounced in his seat. If your mom says it's okay? Maya hesitated. It's a big commitment, twice a week for 3 months. I can do twice a week. What about work? I'll make it work. She studied his face, looking for the catch. There wasn't one. Finally, she nodded. Okay, if you want to coach, you can coach. Carter cheered. Connor, quieter as always, just smiled into his pasta. After dinner, while Maya cleaned up, Adrian helped the boys with their bedtime routine. It was getting easier now. He knew which pajamas they liked, which toothbrushes were whose, that Connor needed his water cup filled exactly halfway. When he came downstairs, Maya was sitting on the couch, looking exhausted. Long day? Adrian asked. Every day is long. She patted the cushion next to her. Sit. We should talk. Adrian sat, suddenly nervous. That sounds ominous. It's not. We need to figure out what this is, what we're doing. What do you mean? You're here almost every day now. The boys are calling you dad. You're coaching t-ball. At some point, we need to define what our relationship is, for their sake. Okay. What do you want it to be? I don't know. That's the problem. She twisted her hands together. 4 years ago, I was in love with you. Then you broke my heart. Then I spent 4 years convincing myself I was better off without you. And now you're back. And you're being exactly what I needed you to be back then. And I don't know how to process that. What do you need from me? Honestly, I need to know if you're in this for real, not just for the boys. For me, too. Adrian turned to face her fully. 4 years ago, I told you I was falling in love with you. That was true. Then I convinced myself that what we had wasn't worth fighting for. That was the lie. He took her hand. I never stopped loving you, Maya. Not when I walked away. Not during the 4 years we were apart. Not now. You're it for me. You always have been. Her eyes filled with tears. You can't just say that. Why not? Because it's not that simple. We have children now, responsibilities. We can't just fall back into whatever we had before. I don't want what we had before. I want something better, something real and permanent and messy and complicated. He squeezed her hand. I want to wake up in this house. I want to help with breakfast and school drop-offs and t-ball practice. I want to be here when things are hard. I want to build a life with you. With them. If you'll let me. Adrian, I know I don't deserve it. I know I screwed up so badly that you have every right to keep me at arm's length forever. But I'm asking anyway. Give me a real chance. Not as the guy who shows up sometimes, as your partner, as their father, as the person who's all in, no matter what. Maya was crying openly now. What if you change your mind? What if this gets hard and you decide it's too much? Then you kick me out and I spend the rest of my life regretting it. Again. He wiped her tears with his thumb. But I'm not going to change my mind. I've had 4 years to think about this, to know what I want. And what I want is you, this life, these boys, the chaos and the mess and the hospital stays and the burnt dinners and all of it. You're insane. Probably. But I'm also serious. She laughed through her tears. I must be insane too because I believe you. Yeah? Yeah. She leaned her forehead against his. But we're doing this slow. The boys need stability. We need time to figure out how to be a family. Whatever you need, whatever pace you want. And if Peterson and your board keep making trouble, I'll handle them. They don't get a vote in this. She pulled back to look at him. You really chose us over the company. Every time, without question. Your father would probably hate me. My father would have loved you, once he got past his own issues. Adrian smiled. He would have loved the boys too. Would have spoiled them rotten. Tell me about him. Your dad. So Adrian did. They sat on the couch for hours talking about his father, her parents who'd passed away when she was in college, their childhoods, their regrets, their hopes. They talked until midnight, until Maya fell asleep against his shoulder. Adrian didn't move, just sat there, holding her, watching the woman he loved sleep, thinking about how close he'd come to losing all of this. The next weeks blurred together in the best way. Adrian showed up every morning to help with breakfast, drove the boys to school, went to work but left at 5 sharp instead of staying until 9, had dinner with his family, helped with homework and baths and bedtime. Peterson made noise at every board meeting. Adrian ignored him. The Meridian deal fell through because Adrian refused to commit to the travel schedule. Adrian didn't care. 2 other deals came through because Adrian was finally present enough to see opportunities Peterson's generation had missed. The company adapted. Some board members left. New ones joined. Richard stayed, quieter now, but supportive in his own way. Maya slowly let her guard down, started leaning into Adrian's help instead of fighting it. Let him pay for things she needed without making it a battle. Trusted him with more responsibility with the boys. 3 months after Connor called him Dad for the first time, Maya asked Adrian to move in. Are you sure? Adrian asked. No, but I'm doing it anyway. She was in the kitchen, making dinner while he helped Carter with homework at the table. This house is too small for all of us. The boys need their own rooms eventually, and you're here every day anyway. We might as well make it official. We could get a bigger place. Adrian, I love this house. The boys love this house. We're not moving into some penthouse. I wasn't suggesting. Yes, you were. She smiled. We'll figure it out. Maybe add on a room or 2, but we're staying here, in this neighborhood, in this life. Okay. Okay? Yeah, okay. Whatever you want. She crossed her arms. That's it? No argument about property values or investment opportunities? Nope. You want to stay here? We stay here. You want to add on? We add on. This is your house. I'm just grateful you're letting me be part of it. Maya shook her head, but she was smiling. You're getting soft, Vale. Maybe. Or maybe I'm finally figuring out what matters. Carter looked up from his homework. Does this mean Adrian lives here now? Yeah, buddy, if that's okay with you. Cool, can we get a dog? Absolutely not, Maya and Adrian said in unison. Carter pouted. Connor, listening from the living room, called out, I told you they'd say no. Adrian moved in the following weekend. He didn't bring much. Some clothes, his laptop, a few personal items. Everything else, the expensive furniture, the art, the life he'd built alone, stayed in the penthouse. He sold it a month later, donated half the furniture, put the rest in storage he'd probably never access. You don't regret it? Maya asked, watching him sign the sale papers. The penthouse? No, it was always too big, too empty, too much like a museum and not enough like a home. What about your life before? The freedom, the independence. What freedom? I was miserable. Working all the time, avoiding anything that felt real, convincing myself that success was enough. He set down the pen. This is freedom. This life with you and the boys. Getting to be part of something bigger than myself. She kissed him then. Not the quick pecks they'd exchanged before. A real kiss. The kind that said she was all in too. T-ball season started. Adrian was terrible at coaching. He didn't know half the rules. He forgot to bring snacks twice, and his pep talks were awkward at best. But he showed up to every practice, cheered at every game, and learned alongside the kids. Carter loved it. Hit the ball exactly once all season and ran to third base instead of first, but didn't care because Adrian was there. Connor didn't play. Too anxious about organized sports. But he came to every game, keeping detailed statistics in a notebook, pointing out which kids were improving and which needed more practice. You should coach them, Adrian said, reading Connor's notes. I don't like being in front of people. You don't have to be in front. You can be behind, like a strategist. Connor considered this. Maybe next year. Whenever you're ready. Summer came. Adrian took 2 weeks off work, something he'd never done before. They didn't go anywhere fancy, just day trips to the beach, the aquarium, the science museum Connor loved. Simple things, normal things, family things. One evening, sitting on the beach watching the boys build sandcastles, Maya said, I think I'm ready. Ready for what? To marry you. Adrian nearly dropped his beer. What? I'm not proposing. Don't get excited. I'm just saying, when you're ready to ask, I think my answer will be yes. When I'm ready to ask. Yeah, ball's in your court. She smiled. No pressure. Adrian bought a ring the next day. Nothing huge or flashy, a simple band with a small diamond that reminded him of the way Maya caught light. He waited 3 more weeks, looking for the perfect moment. A romantic dinner. A sunset walk. Something worthy of the question. Instead, the moment came on a random Tuesday, while Maya was elbow-deep in dishwater and Adrian was helping Connor with a science project about volcanoes. Carter ran in, tracked mud across the floor Maya had just cleaned, and announced he'd found a frog. Get that thing outside, Maya yelled. But Mama, he's lonely. He'll be lonely outside too. Go. Carter ran back out with the frog. Connor spilled vinegar on the kitchen table. The baking soda volcano erupted prematurely, spraying foam everywhere. In the chaos, Maya started laughing. Actually laughing. The kind of laughter that came from exhaustion and absurdity and love all mixed together. And Adrian thought, this is the moment. Marry me, he said. Maya stopped laughing. What? Marry me. Not someday. Not when the moment's perfect. Now. This. Marry me. Adrian, there's foam all over the kitchen. I don't care. Connor's volcano exploded. I noticed. Carter brought in a frog. I saw. This is a disaster. This is our life, and I love it. I love you. I love them. I love the chaos and the mess and the mud and the frogs. All of it. He pulled the ring from his pocket. So marry me, please. Maya stared at the ring, then at him, then at Connor, who was watching with wide eyes. Is that a yes? Connor asked. Yes, Maya whispered. Then louder. Yes, yes, I'll marry you. Adrian slipped the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. Connor cheered. Carter came running back in to see what the noise was about, saw the ring, and started jumping up and down. Are you our dad now? Carter asked. I've been your dad. I mean officially. Yeah, buddy, officially. They got married 6 weeks later in the backyard. Nothing fancy, just family and close friends. The boys stood next to them as Maya and Adrian exchanged vows they'd written themselves. Maya promised to trust him, even when it was hard, to let him help carry the weight she'd carried alone for so long, to build a life together that honored both their pasts and their future. Adrian promised to show up. Every day. Every moment. To choose them over everything else every single time. To be the father his sons deserved and the partner Maya needed. Connor and Carter promised to share their toys sometimes and only fight about important things. Everyone laughed. The ceremony lasted 20 minutes. The celebration went until midnight. Connor fell asleep on Adrian's shoulder while Carter ran wild with the other kids. Maya stood next to Adrian, watching their sons, their friends, their life unfold around them. "No regrets?" she asked. "Not even one." "What about the company? Peterson's still making noise." "Peterson can make all the noise he wants. I'm happy. That's all that matters." "You really mean that?" "I really mean that." He kissed the top of her head. "I spent 4 years chasing things that were supposed to make me happy. Success, wealth, legacy. None of it worked. This works. You work. They work. We work." She leaned against him. "I love you. I love you too." A year later, Adrian stepped down as CEO, not because the board forced him, not because Peterson won, because Adrian chose to. He stayed on as chairman, attending monthly meetings, providing guidance when needed. But the day-to-day operations went to someone younger, hungrier, more willing to sacrifice everything for the company. Adrian had different priorities now. He started a foundation focused on single parents and early childhood education. Used his connections and resources to fund programs that helped people like Maya had been, struggling alone, needing support, trying to build something from nothing. Maya went back to school, finished her photography degree, opened a small gallery that showcased local artists. It didn't make much money, but it made her happy. That was enough. Connor stayed serious and careful, but slowly learned to trust that Adrian wasn't going anywhere. He still kept statistics on everything, still noticed things other people missed. But he laughed more, worried less, called Adrian Dad without hesitation. Carter stayed chaotic and loud and full of joy, brought home straight C's and interesting rocks and occasionally frogs. Drove everyone crazy and made everyone laugh in equal measure. They added 2 rooms to the house, got a dog despite everyone's protests, a rescue mutt that Connor named Comet and Carter claimed was his. Built a treehouse in the backyard. Planted a garden that mostly died but sometimes produced tomatoes. 5 years after Adrian first saw his sons on that playground, he stood in the same park watching them play. Connor was 9 now, explaining constellations to a group of younger kids. Carter was racing around like his hair was on fire, leading some elaborate game only he understood. Maya sat next to Adrian on the bench, her hand in his, her head on his shoulder. "You ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't seen them that day?" she asked. "All the time. We probably would have been fine, me and the boys. We were surviving." "But would you have been happy?" She thought about it. "Eventually, maybe, I don't know. Would you?" "No. I spent 4 years proving I couldn't be happy without you, without them." He watched Connor point at the sky, watched Carter do a cartwheel for no reason. "I needed this family, this life. I was dying before, I just didn't realize it." "That's dramatic." "It's true. I was choosing all the wrong things, chasing all the wrong goals." He looked at her. "You saved me. You and the boys. You gave me a reason to be better, to choose differently. You saved yourself. I just gave you the chance. Then I'm grateful for the chance." They sat in comfortable silence, watching their sons play. Other families came and went. Dogs barked. Children laughed. Life happened around them, normal and beautiful and real. Connor called out, "Dad, come look at this cloud. It looks like a dragon." Adrian stood up. "You coming?" "In a minute," Maya said. You go." He walked across the playground to where Connor stood, pointing at the sky. Carter ran over, insisted it looked like a dinosaur, not a dragon. They argued good-naturedly while Adrian refereed. Maya watched them from the bench, her family, her boys, her life. Not perfect, never perfect, but real, honest, full. And that was everything. Years would pass. The boys would grow up. There would be more hospitals, more emergencies, more fights and tears and slammed doors. Teenage years that would test everyone's patience, college applications, first heartbreaks, all the messy, complicated, beautiful parts of life that came with raising children. But Adrian would be there. Every morning, every crisis, every small victory and crushing defeat, he would show up the way he'd promised, choosing them over everything else, every single time, because he'd learned what his father never did. That legacy wasn't built in boardrooms or carved into buildings. It was built in moments like this, in keeping promises, in showing up, in choosing love over fear, family over ambition, presence over power. He'd learned that real success wasn't measured in dollars or deals. It was measured in the trust in his son's eyes when they called him Dad, in the way Maya's hand fit in his, in the ordinary, extraordinary privilege of being part of something bigger than himself. He'd learned that sometimes the worst mistake of your life becomes the catalyst for the best decision you ever make. That it's never too late to choose differently. That love, real love, is messy and hard and requires sacrificing things you thought you needed for things that actually matter. Adrian Vale had everything he'd ever wanted. Not because he'd fought for it, or earned it, or deserved it, but because he'd finally learned to choose it, to value it, to understand that the most important legacy he'd ever leave wasn't his name on a building. It was his name on the emergency contact form at his son's school, on the marriage certificate in Maya's desk drawer, on the lease to their too-small house in their middle-class neighborhood, on the permission slips and report cards and family photos covering their refrigerator. The legacy was love, presence, commitment, the quiet daily choice to stay, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. And standing in that park, watching Connor explain science to Carter, who wasn't listening, hearing Maya laugh behind him, Adrian finally understood what his father had spent his whole life chasing and never found. This was enough. This was everything. This was home.